Hello everyone, this will be chapter 43 of The Second Life of the Guardian, written and read by Insect Overlord. This chapter is titled, Even Mafia Bosses Need Help Sometimes, and has content warnings for mild depiction of injury. Izuku's dad didn't return that night. His mom was frantic, keeping him home from school the next day and not letting either of her kids out of her sight. She kept hugging them and reassuring them their dad was okay, but it only served to make them more anxious. If their mom was this upset, something must be terribly wrong. They finally got a call after 4 p.m. He said work kept him late, and he was sorry he hadn't reached out to let them know. Izuku called Bull. His mom, however, was relieved. The second she heard her husband's voice, it was almost as if the worry seeped out of her, and she sunk back into the couch with a sigh. Izuku could sympathize. Hisashi was alive, so he would come back home. He had to. Besides, if anything happened, he had the charm. That was good enough for now. But if he didn't return home soon, the bread would get hard. Homemade bread didn't last as long as the store-bought stuff. He tried to put it in the fridge to preserve its life, but he knew it would only taste worse as the day dragged on. It was an hour past when Hisashi first contacted them that Izuku called him again to confront him. His radio silence had stopped at least, but Izuku knew things weren't as they seemed. There was no way his dad just forgot to call them for that long. Something must have happened, and Izuku was going to find out what. "How'd you do in school today, bud?" Izuku grimaced. His mom hadn't let them go to school today. "Ingo tells me you got an A on your science project yesterday. She said all the kids made baking soda volcanoes and eggs in vinegar, but you and that Hatsume girl turned in the blueprints for a particle accelerator. Only 7 and already dabbling in nuclear physics. I'm so proud." Hisashi gushed. His voice sounded raspy, and a slight beeping could be heard in the background. "It was mostly May," he muttered. How she had jumped from remodeling toasters to creating plans for a particle accelerator, he didn't know, but he was too afraid to ask. The blueprints were nowhere near complete, and looked like you would expect from an 8-year-old, but the fact she was even trying made a shiver run up his spine. His dad was quiet for a moment. Then he sighed. "I know you're not happy about this. I'm not either. I wish I could come home, I do, but my job is—" "Stop lying to me," Izuku interrupted. His dad was treating him like a little kid. Why didn't he trust him? "I'm not—" "You are. I'm not stupid. Did you think I wouldn't notice? The mysterious, unspecified job, the money, the strange phone calls. You're a mafia boss, aren't you?" he accused, finally airing the thoughts he held on to for so long. Hisashi was thrown into a coughing fit, which Izuku took as him admitting it was true. "I knew it!" He slammed his fist into his palm. "I bet you're on the run from the law right now. The police probably know your face, and that's why you haven't come home. Well, don't worry. I can wipe your file for you." He had plenty of experience with that, thanks to his side quest as Anon. It wouldn't even be hard. "No, Izuku, the police don't—" "Wait, you know how to do that?" "Crap." "But you are a mafia boss. You didn't deny that part." He ignored the question. "Plus, you sound funny, and I can hear beeping, so you're probably on a heart monitor. Conclusion. You got injured, and now you're in the hospital. But why didn't you tell us that? We could come visit you." He frowned, picking at another nail. Izuku didn't understand why his dad didn't just tell them he was hurt. What was he afraid of? Hisashi coughed again. "Dear goodness, you're perceptive. You get that from your mother," he sighed. You're right. I did get injured. I was fighting a hero, and yeah. I'm at a clinic right now. I was hoping they could fix me up and you'd never have to know. I didn't want to burden you all." Izuku sighed. As smart as his dad had to be for being a mafia boss, he could be pretty dense. You wouldn't be burdening us by keeping us informed about your health. That's like the bare minimum. He rubbed his chin in thought. He could reveal the charm now, but he was still hiding something. But that can't be the only reason. Mom would never let that fly. Come on, Dad. What is it really? It's... He paused for a few seconds, then resumed. I'm not too injured, really. The biggest problem, it's my face. It's deformed, and I don't want my kids or my wife to see me like this. Izuku rolled his eyes. That made sense, but still. Oh, Dad, but you were always ugly. Nothing will change that. Don't worry. He giggled as his dad sputtered. Once he was satisfied his dad was properly punished, he finally revealed his secret. If you let me visit, I can probably heal you. Eri doesn't have a good enough handle on her quirk, but I do. As long as the hero you fought used a quirk, my own can reverse the damage. Probably. I'm still not sure if the proximity thing is for me or my charms. It would suck if, after everything, he couldn't help. What do you mean? I thought the restoration aspect of your quirk only worked when a charm was summoned, Hizashi asked. He sounded so confused that Izuku wondered how he could have climbed the ranks of the Mafia with such bad deduction skills. Izuku dragged a hand down his face. Oh my Kwame, the Mario charm, Dad! Come on! The Mario keychain I gave you was a lucky charm. You kept it with you during the fight, right? Yes, I kept it on my keyring so I wouldn't lose it. Good, he stated, standing up from his bed. Well, I'm going to tell Mom you lied to her. Text her the address. See you soon. He hung up, cutting off his dad's frantic rebuttals. Predictably, Inko was furious. Izuku had never seen her chew anyone out so thoroughly before. It was like watching a tiger tear into its meat, both terrifying and impressive to see. By the end, Hizashi looked so ashamed, the expression was almost more prominent than his mutilated face, which was saying something. Seeing his dad lying there in a hospital bed, covered in bandages and face disfigured, Izuku felt something bubble up in his stomach. Something he used to feel when he saw the carnage brought about by Hawkmoth. Something he still feels when he thinks about what Overhaul did to his sister. A part of himself he tended to suppress. The part that craved retribution. Izuku may not like his dad, but they were family. One way or another, this mysterious hero would pay. Izuku, are you going to use your quirk? His mom knocked him out of his thoughts. Oh, right. He shook his head and accepted the offered keychain. It was unmarred, despite being caked in dirt in places. It took a lot to break a lucky charm. He closed his eyes and released it from existence. Immediately, he felt his muscles relax. He hadn't realized the strain keeping his charm summoned for that long was causing him. A flash of light surrounded his father. As it faded, so did his injuries. There was slight scarring visible when the light hit his face just right, but other than that, he seemed fine. Izuku breathed a sigh of relief. He was worried it wouldn't work. You did it! His mom shouted, pulling him into a hug. Eri repeated her and tugged him as well. Soon the whole family was hugging and crying on the dirty linoleum floor. Never do that again, stupid, Izuku demanded, rubbing his nose. Hizashi huffed. Yeah, okay. They weren't perfect, but they were a family, and Izuku would do anything for his family. The next day at school, Izuku presented his request to Mei. He was glad his dad agreed to stay safe, but Izuku wasn't about to trust him. He may, love his dad. Maybe. But the man was still a crime lord. He was bound to do something stupid again, and when he did, Izuku would have to get him out of it. Mei, he slammed his hands on her desk. She didn't jump, just looked up with a pleasant smile. I need a favor. What is it? She tilted her head. He took a deep breath. I need you to make me a tracker for my dad. It has to be small so he won't notice it. Okay. She turned to dig through her bag. Izuku blinked. Okay? It was that easy? He was expecting, why would you want that? Or, that's too advanced, I'm only 8. Not okay. Here. She held out a device similar to a phone and a small bottle. There is an extra in this. Just slip it into his food and you're good to go. You can see the status on here. She pointed to a dot on the device's screen. And don't worry about planting any new ones. These babies last years. Izuku stared wide-eyed at his grinning friend. What do you mean you had an extra? Who else did you... Actually, you know what? I don't want to know. He shook his head. Good choice, May cackled. Remind him to never get on her bad side. This concludes chapter 43 of The Second Life of the Guardian. This chapter went through a lot of revisions, because originally it was supposed to be sort of as it is now, but then I got a comment and I really, really wanted to change it. But I spent a couple days trying to write it how I wanted to change it, and I couldn't get it to work, so I eventually reverted it and went back to this one. And I think it still fits overall, so it's fine. Sorry for it being a while since I posted the last one. I don't really have an excuse. I've just been very bored. Or, I don't know the right word. I haven't wanted to sit down and record for a while. But this time I'm recording like 4 things. So, the next chapters of this and a few others should be up soon. Thank you so much for listening.